Well, welcome again. Now, guess what? We are going to cook frozen broccoli. A very common thing, very common item, a common healthy alternative people like to use if whatever vegetable anybody likes. Usually, a broccoli is probably one of those top choices. But now, let's talk about how to cook the frozen broccoli. Um, I also talk about how to do frozen peas and done that. But with this one, frozen broccoli is all the same stuff. We're just trying to get rid of the water outside of the item. We don't have to add any water. But first, I just turned on my microwave here. Not microwave, but the stove top here. I'm going to let it get, the pan's going to get hot. I want to wait for it to get a reasonable temperature so the food could talk right away. Because when you put a frozen item on the pan or pot, whatever you're going to use, it's going to make a sound like it's the ocean or something. You want to hear food talk all the time. That's how you know it's working. Plus, you don't want to put in frozen vegetables on a cold pan or pot when you're cooking. You want it to get warm enough. Okay, so, and you could always tell. I always do put my hand there, and just kind of check it. Or if you have sensitive hands, or you could always just use your intuition a little bit. But you could tell, you could always do the drop of water test, which it's always good. You just get some water here, just go, the water's not moving, so if it's hot enough, it'll start rolling on the pan. Okay, so that's kind of the thing to look at when we're doing this. Okay, so now it's not quite hot yet, so our objective is to cook frozen broccoli. I have 2 cups of frozen broccoli, petite broccoli florets. I decided to use that. You can use also the bigger florets. It doesn't matter which frozen broccoli that you have. I have the organic frozen broccoli. Now, and I also have some salt, some black pepper, and I also have some white pepper. So I'm gonna, share a little subtle, simple little broccoli recipe while I'm showing the process of how to cook frozen broccoli. And I also have sesame oil, toasted sesame oil, that I will show you how I'm going to do that at the end. And there's all these different alternatives. There's so much creative ideas, people have when they're cooking vegetables and how to add to it. You can add onion and all that after the broccoli is cooked, and garlic and ginger, whatever you want to use. There's so much room for your own imagination and what flavors you like. Okay, but I'm just going to talk about some basic stuff. It's hot enough now. Let's try that water test. Ooh, you instantly, it talks. See? There you go. Now, if you read the back of the recipe bags or the frozen vegetables, they have these instructions that tell you to add some water and let it boil. Then you add your vegetables, your frozen vegetables, and then you cover it for so many minutes and then cook until tender, drain the water and season to taste and serve. It's pointless. You might as well just buy fresh broccoli and ruin that and get even worse nutritional value. Frozen broccoli has a lot more nutritional value than fresh broccoli because it doesn't go through that respiration process, which basically is the process once they're harvested, the broccoli gets cut and then it sucks up all the water. It's called respiration. Heat starts building into those vegetables. So, and by the time it goes to the store and all that, it's already depleted so many nutrients. Frozen broccoli, it has to be flash frozen right away. It doesn't have the lag time before we consume it. It has to get frozen, flash frozen right away, which holds more nutrition of the actual vegetable when it first gets harvested. So that's why it's suggested to cook this way. So you notice, I'm just letting it sit. I'm not doing anything. If you want to watch it, if you have your little sauteing techniques, that's fine. Or if you have your spatula, there you go. Just let it flatten out and just let it do its thing. And you just got to pay attention to the food and the smell. If you know the smell of chlorophyll of the green pigment in broccoli, you'll smell broccoli. You know how broccoli smells. You gotta use all your senses in cooking. Now, I didn't add anything yet because remember, the first thing that we're trying to do here is get rid of all that water that was already on it from being in the freezer, and it has water molecules. So we're just cooking those molecules out, right? And by doing this technique, by sauteing means to jump. Saute means to jump, which creates a convection and an even cooking process for your food. That's the whole purpose of that, because it aerates and it creates this convection within the food for even cooking. It's not just to look cool, okay? So that's why it's important. But if you can't do that, just do this. Nothing wrong with that too. This works. Now as they start, now I'm starting to smell more of the broccoli. You'll see some coloration from your pan. I have my stove on medium-high heat. Not too high because I don't want to, because once it gets cooked, the broccoli that is, it will start cooking really fast, getting a little bit of color on it, which I like that little extra flavor. It brings more earthiness, earth tones to the broccoli. See, there's already some color. And this is the time, if you have a little fork or something, grab one or grab a piece. Good. Now, what I want to do, let's add some salt. And I have it like at 7, medium, high heat on your stove. A little bit of salt, just a little bit. A couple pinches, I'm using kosher salt. Whatever pepper, I have a little fresh, I like getting the whole peppercorns and with the actual grinder on it. It's always a good thing. But if you have your own pepper grinder and get your own peppercorns, that's awesome. Or if you don't have a peppercorn grinder pepper version, just use pepper. Doesn't matter, it's pepper. But if you want to maximize all the other medicinal things that come out of all these ingredients, it's better to do it as fresh as possible. Now I'm getting some coloration. Now what I actually want to do, I'm gonna add a little bit of white pepper too. Just a little bit. I'm just, just kind of drizzling it. Not too much because white pepper has this very distinctive flavor. And guess what I'm gonna do now? I'm just gonna, actually, I could add some butter, or I'm just gonna do sesame oil. How about that? A little bit of sesame oil. Just a little bit, like that. So you notice when I started, when it was time, when I checked the broccoli, I tasted it and I'm like, okay, it's cooked. The water's out. You could add onions, you could add garlic, you could add whatever you want during this process when I was seasoning. You could add a little bit of butter to this. Actually, I might do that because it is a cool contrast to add a little bit of, just a little bit, a half a, if you want to see it close, it's just a little bit, just to kind of clean up the bottom of the pan a little bit too, the extra flavors that are there. Then what we want to do is get a little, all right, I'll taste it. If you like soy sauce, you can add a little bit of soy sauce to this, which is really good, but I'm just teaching you some basic, this is a, you can't go wrong with this. See how fast that was. Wasn't rocket science for sure. It's a little science involved, food science, but okay. Very basic, but there's a lot of flavor in just what I just did. Salt, pepper, a little bit of white pepper, and then you saw me, I just put like a tablespoon of butter, drizzled some toasted sesame oil over it. Usually at the very end, you could just throw in the toasted sesame oil or regular sesame oil. It's a nice little recipe for a side for any type of protein or anything, or you could keep it on to the side, add other things, legumes, anything like that. It's really good. So see, frozen broccoli, just like that. Didn't take that long, right? There you go. See? To be continued. There might be some more recipes coming with some other ways of cooking frozen vegetables, but this is just the basic way how broccoli could be cooked. All right, no water, no extra extraneous processes, just right on the pan right away. All right, so I'll see you in the next class. Bye-bye. So if you liked anything that you just saw, first like and subscribe, and then you will find the link to this amazing course. I'll check you all out in the next class.